Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to One Hub Racing here for round number 2 of the Reverse Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action, and joining alongside me in the commentary box is the man, the myth, the legend. It is Nick. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm really good, thanks, Mike. I think this might be our first commentary together.
Potentially. I mean, we've been around in the One Hub community for a very long time, so I wouldn't like to say this is the first time. I think we've done a couple of pre-season comms together, I want to say, in the past.
Yeah, possibly. It's definitely the first on this game for us both. I think potentially last game as well. But it's good to be here. Last week was a lot of fun. Don't know if you watched the stream, but yeah, it's almost harder from a commentator point of view of watching the cars go around the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, I managed to catch a little bit of the action last week around Silverstone, and honestly, it seems like very confusing driving on the track backwards and that. Honestly, you usually do it in the online lobbies when you're just messing around and that, but for it to be a competitive aspect in that on this game, to actually drive backwards on a track, is very, very interesting.
Yeah, let's see what Netherlands bring us. From what I've heard, feedback across not just our drivers but across the game, they said that Netherlands round reverse layout is the hardest of the three. So let's see what this has in store for us. Obviously, Callum won last week. Was given a bit of competition from Kieran and the two Finnish drivers as well. So. Let's see what round 2 has in store for us, and you can see the banked corner back.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly going through the championship standings from last week's action. Of course, it is how it finished. Obviously, Callum and Armed taking the race win, with Moika Lee in second place, and of course Kieran in third. Curry in P4 with J. Cole in P5. It's great to see J. Cole back out on track as well, by the way. We have missed him over the last season in One Hub out on track. Salu there in P6 with JR Mason P7. P8 is currently Larkin with Jess coming through in P9. And then, of course, Joe rounding out the top 10 on 3 points in 10th place. And, of course, Reloady Reload Dead, I believe it's actually pronounced. But yeah, a new driver, unless it's a name change that I'm not familiar with, but I believe a new driver to the grid and that came in, got 2 points. Happy days for him. Yes, absolutely. And I think everyone eagerly anticipating the news regarding season 27. Of course, season 26 was absolutely fantastic, and it can only get bigger and better from this point onwards.
It looks to me like there's quite a few drivers out on track and quite a short track here, so got to be careful for traffic. Obviously, 17 drivers here this evening on this what is quite a humid and muggy day in the UK, and you can see Callum starts us off where he left off last week at a 109.738.
Yeah, absolutely. As we just jumped on to the action out on track, as you mentioned, Callum and 109.7. Interesting, of course, the bank curve now being turn number one. Normally the final corner. Now, what is technically turns 2 and 3 tonight, I think is the more difficult of the corners because it's such a sharp turn and a quick little left right as you come through the curve, the right hander now of turn 2 into the sharp left hander at turn 3.
Yeah, you can definitely it definitely takes a while to get used to in terms of when you're calling out the corner names, corner numbers. It's good to see Gaza back here again in the Red Bull, riding on board with him as he comes up the hill, heading towards. Well, he's in the final sector now, I believe, heading towards the kind of banked corner here, which again is completely reversed. And you can see the pit lane entrance will be coming up on your left as he heads through this corner, which isn't as much of a heavy braking zone, but yeah, long back straight heading towards the bank corner. It takes a while to get used to.
Well, I mean, here's another thing that I'm going to bring up as a point of contention for some of these drivers to think about going into the race. Of course, that pit lane entry. Now, normally that's the pit lane exit, but the wall that you'll take now on the entry, you gotta keep it very close and very tight now because it's so easy just to run a little bit deep and go straight into that wall and end up out of the race.
Yeah, if you obviously damage for this session is on reduced, but you can obviously still damage your wing and and potentially DNF and have an early end to the evening. But of course, only 25% race, so you'll see drivers they will need to stop still in the pit lane. As Salou is currently in second, Catherine in third, Joe in fourth. Look how close the times are between Joe and Jess. Those two raced in season 27 together. Could hardly separate them.
Yeah, absolutely picking up from where they left off in P2 last season as JR Mason there pops up into P3. They were a 10.4. Good lap from him on his opening run. And honestly, like the battle that Jess and Joe had, obviously in P2 last season, was absolutely fantastic. As J Cole and Michael there popping up with improved times, P3, P4, respectfully for them. Are we gonna be seeing? Well, it's gonna be a game cycle long rivalry between Jess and Joe, perhaps over the course of this game.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see that. I would certainly enjoy it. I think that it's going to be tight because different tracks will play into different strengths of the two drivers. But ultimately, it'll be about who can be consistent. I suspect them to be in the same tier. Whether we have 2 or 3 tiers this season, Mike will remain to be seen.
Well, whether it's 2 or whether it's 3, we know the action will be absolutely jam-packed in every single tier as Kieran to the line goes up to P7 at 10.9 for him. And honestly, we got a few drivers yet to get a lap time on the board. Obviously, Reloaded is coming through the final corner now, and he's going to set a lap time of 11.3. We got Ivan still yet to get a lap time on the board. Curry is on a flying lap right now, and Curry, obviously, a fantastic driver in P1 last season, but loses the back end in what is the final sector now, and goes off into the gravel trap.
Yeah, you got to remember around here, there's a lot of grass, a lot of gravel. You can easily dip it. It's quite narrow as well, the tarmac, so you can easily dip a wheel on whilst you're trying to find those limits just beyond the white line. And I'm sure you can see who's this. Looks like Kieran's was in the way of someone there, or the other way around. Just got out of the way. So that's what the traffic I was mentioning earlier, Mike. It can sometimes catch you out because the drivers are approaching some of these corners at such high speed. And with a 1 minute kind of 10 lap time, you've really got to have your wits about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I'm going to go on board with the man who took the race win last week, of course, Callum Anand, who is going on a second run. He's currently 3 times clear of the next man behind him, and Salu. And this game, I think, just judging from the early signs, looks to be a very, very good game for the Welshman.
Yeah, he's been really competitive, and in the GOAT Championship, he was extremely competitive, which he'll be taking part in again at 7 p.m. tonight. So plenty of action here at One Hub Racing on a Sunday evening whilst we wait for the launch of the official season. But yeah, you can see that Callum really feels at home with this game. Super consistent, super quick in qualifying. Championship contender for season 27. Definitely a champion for winning contender for this reverse championship.
I mean, he did manage to pick himself up some very strong performances in P1 last season. He was regularly up there battling for podiums, and even got himself a race win in Jeddah, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, if the game suits him, as the way it looks right now as he comes to the line, looks like it's going to be an improvement for Callum Armed, and it is by over 3 tenths of a second. It's a 9.3. He's 7 tenths ahead of the next man.
Yeah, and you've got to remember it's a short track, so it's not like a Azerbaijan or Abu Dhabi where there's a lot more corners and a lot more time to gain in each corner. This is impressive from Callum. Salu as well. He was in the lower tier of 2 on F1 24 last season, but he's showing that he can mix it up with the big boys as he is going to come and end his second lap here. And what's it going to be as he crosses the line? Is he going to get into the 9s? He's close enough. No.
Just a slight, unfortunately for Salu there, just slightly off his last lap time. But yeah, I mean, Salu last season in P2 was a driver that was showing all the pace to be up there fighting for race wins, podiums, victories every single week. But the luck he had in some of those races was just absolutely horrendous. He did manage to turn it around towards the end of the season, but that's what he's got to hold on to now to go into this season. Just carry that momentum on from the end of the last one.
Yeah, he definitely does. I think momentum is really important in Formula One, and you can see the way McLaren carried the momentum from last season into this season with the strongest car. I expect Jerome Mason to improve. I can see, obviously, he's a man who's hunting those pole positions at the moment, and I can see him definitely improving into the top 5, mixing it up in qualifying with some of the normal quicker guys. As you see, he comes to the end of the lap now, and here he goes, about to start his flyer, the Welshman.
Yep, as he runs down into what is turn number 1, swooping left-hander on the bank curve now, breaking down in towards turn number 2. 5th gear, the gear choice here for JR Mason, now in to the right-hander at turn number 3, getting it all hooked up, and then a quick flick to the left through turn number 4. DRS wide open as we run down towards turn number 5, and very easy, just get a wrong line through here, I'm going to say, and then obviously through turn number 6 now. Again, very easy to lose a bit of time there through turn number 7 as we climb up the hill in towards turn number 8 as we climb up the hill. And another thing I'm going to mention as well is over the crest now on this circuit, there's a lot of blind corners as well. So it's kind of very difficult for the drivers to get their turning correct. So there's a lot of blind corners and that to go into.
Yeah, there is. It's something you've really got to be careful of as John comes towards the end of the lap. And interestingly, Mikey, as he does jump into the top 5, look how close it is as Marco gets himself into the 109s. Only 2 drivers in the 10, make that 3 drivers in the 109s. As J. Cole does a 0.6. So J. Cole dusting off those cobwebs and showing there's still some life left in the old dog. But what I was going to say, Mike, was that Mikey in the other McLaren got nicely out the way of JR Mason at the start of Mason's lap there, which is always good to see when there's a new driver to lead, that he's got that awareness and doesn't want to make any enemies early on as he now begins his flying lap.
Yeah, absolutely. He just clips a little bit of the grass on the inside through turn number 1 there, so that's just gonna scrub off just a little bit of time. So there's definitely a bit of time there for Mikey to pick up on if he's got the time to complete this lap and go for another lap. I believe he will, as DRS is wide open now, heading through the swooping right hand here, keeping it nice and tight, looking for the best exit possible early on the traction, throwing it in through the left-hander as we now ascend up the hill. And this is where things get a little bit sketchy because there's a lot of blind corners here as the elevation change on the track is apparent. Very easy for you to turn in just a little bit too much, take a little bit too much that inside grass there, and that can scrub off even more time. But this is looking like a clean lap from Mikey so far. A little bit of sliding going on though.
Yeah, the 2 Ferraris are just about to cross the line as well. So F1HL jumps up into 11th position. And Ivan jumps up into 6th position. So drivers improving, the track's ramping up. F1HL, first race in one hub last week in this reverse championship, finished 11th, put on a good display with some defending and overtaking. I was impressed with him. Curry, expect to see him improve. He's currently down in 15th place at the moment. He's usually normally right up there, so I'm expecting he'll jump into the low 10s, if not the high 9s, before the end of this session. I think Kieran's still got a bit of pace in him, and Catherine as well. I think she can probably improve, whereas Jess currently down in 14th position. So I reckon Jess has some time. I reckon a lot of these drivers have got some time, Mike. I think because it's almost a new track to them because of the layout they're driving. Naturally, you're constantly going to be finding more and more time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously the first couple of laps, you just want to make sure you get something on the board nice and early. And then is right now, as we come to the end of this session, is all going to be about throwing caution to the wind and absolutely going for it. As we got Gazaman, who was the first man on an outlap, I believe. In fact, no, I am mistaken. It is Lord Brocco.
Yes, so another new driver to a Brazilian driver, new to the league last week in this reverse championship. So it's great that these one-off events, Mike, are attracting a mixture of kind of some one-hub veterans and one-hub returning drivers, and also some new drivers to the league. So F125 set itself up nicely, and Lord Barocco is setting himself up nicely to start what will be his final lap. A lot of drivers still in the pits, and there will be no lobby restart between this qualifying session and the race. So the drivers have got to think about what tyres they use, as you're going to see those pits on this timing screen all change to outlap.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we still got a decent amount of cars still in the pit lane. Remember, they want to get out as quickly as possible. They want to get a lap in because, I mean, such a long pit lane, to get to the exit, obviously on the reverse track. So they need to make sure they leave themselves enough time. I think they'll just about do it. There's 3 cars in the pits right now that I think they're done for the session.
Oh, as I saw a little bit of carbon fiber or something there. as I flick through some of the camera angles.
Ooh,
Can't
someone off
exactly
track.
see.
It's a Williams, I believe
Williams.
that's off track there. Oh, no, sorry, one of the Alpines off track. I believe it could possibly be Joe or Salu out there kicking up some gravel.
JR Mason looks like the only one who's going to stay in the pits, and F1HL, he's just left with a minute 21. Got to the pit exit with a minute 21, just behind his Ferrari teammate. So I reckon if he's going to have to push Mike if he wants to make this lap.
Yeah, absolutely. As I just saw then the back end stepping out for Lord Rocco, and that is his lap over and done with. As we are gonna see who is gonna be setting the best times here in qualifying. We got one of the Aston Martins coming to the end of the outlap. That is Curry. As we try to find who is the first car on the lap, and that's Gazaman in the wall.
Salu's going to come across the lines 2.5 tenths up, Mike, as he crossed the sector 2 split time. What's it going to be?
Brilliant.
And he improves a 109.8.
Brilliant there from Salu. J. Cole, a 10th down in the first sector. Callum and Armed, a 10th up in the middle sector. So we're still on board with Callum and Armed because this potentially will be the pole position in the lap time as he comes through the final corner now. The checker flag has fallen in the session and it will be Callum and Armed to come across the line. Is it going to be an improvement though as he comes through? Yes, it's a 9.1 for Callum and Armed. Big improvement for him. And it looks like Salu, J. Cole not going to be able to respond. What about Moikali here? As we wait to see what his middle sector split is going to be. In fact, J. Cole, yep, he's invalidated on his lap. That's his session. We're done with Larkin out the session as well. Another big name, a returning name as well to one hub as Moikali's off into the gravel trap. And that's his lap over and done with as well.
He was up until that point. You see him on the grass now as he moves out the way for other drivers. Larkin has finished his lap. You've got Ivan in the Ferrari. What can he do on his debut in One Hub Racing around the reverse layout here in Netherlands? He keeps it tight through Sector 1, focusing on his exit. Nails the throttle. Mike, is he going to be able to improve? Yes, he does.
Yeah, as you got Q1 now to the line.
Look at his teammate. Look at his teammate who got a lap in and then jumped up. And then I believe Kieran was the last driver to cross the line and he jumped up. So everyone improving at the end. And look how close the field is, Mike. You've got from Kieran in 5th all the way down to Vitinho in 13th, 6 tenths of a second separating that group of drivers.
Incredibly tight in qualifying right there in the midfield. But, I mean, looking at the lap times that were set there, and just knowing that the pace that we saw in Silverstone, this man on pole position, Callum and Armed, over 4.5 tenths ahead of J. Cole in second place. What a lap time for him. But J. Cole will be starting from P2 with Salu in P3, Moikali P4, Q1 in P5, Ivan in P6, Larkin in P7 with Reload in P8. Mason in P9 with Catherine running at the top 10. Outside the top 10, we have Curry, Mikey, Vitinho, Jess, Joe, Gazaman, and Lord Brocco going to be starting from the back of the field. Well, a very interesting qualifying right there, Nick, and very tight in the midfield. I definitely do not want to call who's going to be finishing from like around P5 down to P13 as well. Like that is going to be incredibly tight throughout the course of this race. But looking at the time set, if Callum and Arm can replicate his pace in qualifying in the race itself, he's on for a winner. 2 wins back to back possibly for the Welshman.
Yeah, you got to remember, just quickly, obviously it's a 25% race, so slightly different to our normal season championship. So weather is set to clear. Park timer rules are off, so drivers can change their setup between qualifying and the race. Car damage is set to reduced, as is car damage rate, and you only need to complete 1 pit stop tonight. And car selection is a first come first serve, so it doesn't really matter who's in which car in terms of performance, because it's all obviously set to equal. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, that's for sure, as the drivers don't have long. They've got to select their strategy, they've got to select their fuel. Last week we saw a real mixture of drivers starting on the mediums and drivers starting on the hard compound tire. So will we see another mixture here tonight? We're about to find out.
Well, let us have a look. And yes, we are going to see a mixture here tonight. The top two starting on mediums, both Callum Arnott and J. Cole. Salo and Moikali starting on the set of the soft compound tyres. Then we got Kieran, Ivan and Larkin on the set of the mediums. Then from Reloaded all the way down to Mikey in 12th place, all on the soft tyres. Vitinho on the set of the mediums. Jess and Joe on the set of the softs. And then Gazaman and Lord Brocco going to be starting on the medium compound tyres as well.
So, will the drivers? We saw this interestingly last week, Mike, where drivers, even though they were starting on different compounds, they really mixed up their strategies. So some soft drivers would kind of pit early, lap 4, 5. Others extended their soft stint because they felt they had the tire life in it. But also on this game, Mike, dirty air is a big factor, and I think it's going to be a big factor here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The understeer that you get now following in the wake of the car in front is definitely more apparent on this particular game than on previous game cycles. That is for sure. And that is just going to make things very interesting when it comes to who the lead car is on that train, because you can really hold on to position for quite some time just with the fact that the other cars behind you are suffering with dirty air.
So a short formation lap. You can see that Callum is coming up to line up on his grid slot. I think last week he overshot it, and I think it was Kieran who was able to take the lead. Kieran or Marco, I can't remember which one. But you can see the drivers in the background all coming around the final corner, wiggling around, getting as much temperature into their tires. Expect the soft runners to get a good start. There's a long run to down to turn 1, Mike, but slightly different turn 1 to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. As we wait for those 5 red lights to get underway here. And here we go now to those 5 red lights to get us underway here in Zandvoort. Reverse track lights are out and we are underway. And it looks like a very good start from the drivers out in front. A little bit of lag on my end, so hopefully that all sorts it out. But look at side-by-side action between J. Cole and Callum and Arms. And of course, these two have done battle many times in past, many seasons in the past in P1 here in One Hub Racing.
So there was a bit of contact between the top two there, as we're seeing quite a few position changes. F1HL is not in the lobby. I think I've sent him another invite. Hopefully he can get back in. Mikey's made a good start, up 4 places. Joe's also made a few places up as well. Larkin, the only driver in the field to stay exactly where he is. But what did we make?
Oh, J. Cole's gone.
As J. Cole's had a moment.
J. Cole has dropped down the order. We just went off board with J. Cole and Callum and Arm to go towards battles in the midfield. And we absolutely just missed the what happened between Callum and Arm and J. Cole. Hopefully no contact between them. And hopefully no damage on J. Cole's car, because that would be absolutely heartbreaking for the returning driver here tonight.
Yeah, locking up as well, so really struggling. Perhaps he's got an issue which he's discovered with his setup or something like that for the race. But who else is going to give it a go? Obviously, DRS not enabled until they cross the line. Callum back in the lead, but he's got the soft runners behind him of Marco and Salou. See the McLaren there of Mikey all over the back of Larkin. So is he going to be able to put his stamp on his One Hub Racing career with a good finish on his
safety car deployed, lap 2 of 18.
So
no.
What's that for? Jared Mason is at the back of the field. Does he have damage? It doesn't look like he's...
I think it's for Reloaded, who I believe lagged out the session, joined back in the session, and then he has retired. Now, I'm not sure if there was an issue or not that he was facing which forced him to retire. If it is, then I think that might explain some of the lag issues that we was experiencing at the start of this race.
Alright, so let me put this to you, Mike. What are these soft runners going to do? We expect the mediums. I mean, everyone could go hards to the end, but if we're thinking it's going to be medium soft or soft medium, what are these soft runners going to do? The mediums can't pick because they can't go to the end on softs, but could the mediums do 16 laps under normal racing conditions? Who's this coming in? Callum's coming in on the medium. so's Marco, so's Salu. J. Cole continues on. So, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, incredibly interesting. And I would have said for the soft runners, easy pit onto mediums, go to the end. Callum and Arm's gone on a set of the hards, as is Ivan. So I believe all the medium runners are coming in, putting on a set of the hard compound tires to try and go to the end. So you would
Red Bulls are double
imagine,
stacking. Sorry, Mike. Kaz has
yeah,
lost a decent amount of time there.
as did the Saubers as well. Vitinho a bit in it as well. Lord Brocco has to also double stack here. Also, I'm not gonna lie now, Nick. This has made things very interesting because the medium should be able to get to the end, but they're gonna feel very second hand by the time we get to the end of the race. The hards might be the best shout from this point, but how much are they going to lose out in terms of pace at the start of this stint by here?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think another thing will be how long will this safety car stay out for? Obviously, the drivers at the back of the field will need to join the pack before it even thinks about coming. So I don't think it will be coming in this lap. I imagine it will probably be lap 4 or potentially even lap 5. But what do we reckon on Joe's strategy? He hasn't pitted, but he's on that soft compounded tyre. He's almost kind of sticking to his guns. Obviously, you can see why J. Cole and Larkin stayed out on those mediums, though. They'll be hoping to continue the pace that they should have. Callum going to the end on hards. Really, look at the mixture of tyres throughout the field, Mike.
Well, in terms of Joe's strategy, I don't blame him for staying out there on the set of the softs because I mean, at the end of the day, he might not be confident in getting mediums to the end in good nick. So he might be thinking, everyone's bunched up again, there could be another safety car that gets called. Even if the safety car does not get called, he can pit around, let's say, lap 7, chuck on the set of the mediums, go to the end of the race, and he'll have the fresher tyres out of everyone in the field. Other than obviously Larkin and J. Cole when they make their pit stops, so the soft tyres. He might be thinking that he'll have enough advantage on those fresher tyres to come back for the field. And let's not forget as well, he's barely taken anything out of these softs early on. So if he can get a good start here, a good restart, he might be able to put a little bit of distance between himself and some of these guys in behind, making his job easier when he makes that pit stop later in the race.
Yes, and the three who haven't stopped won't need to contend with double stacking. Perhaps that played a part in why they didn't come into the pits. But interestingly, it's a safety car who's leading the field, and you've got the message already. The safety car is in this lap. Those hard tyres are going to be a little bit tricky to fire up on these first few laps. Callum going to come under attack from Marco and Salu. Will we see any more incidents? It's been a pretty clean round 1 last week, and seems like it's been pretty clean here as well tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we got a age-old battle about to commence for the race lead by J. Cole Larkin. I believe they've been teammates multiple times in their One Hub careers. Very good friends, both on and off track. But when they battle, they battle absolutely tooth and nail. So we're going to see what happens here as we're about to go back to green flag racing. And J. Cole leaving it very late for the restart. And there he goes. And he's caught Larkin a little bit napping. Joe could have an opportunity here down in towards turn number 1 if he gets on the ERS. But he's elected not to. And that's going to allow Callum and Arms right underneath the rear wing. As Callum and Arms really forcing the decision right now for Joe to be very defensive here.
Yeah, and because Callum knows he's going to be under attack if he doesn't attack himself. So you can see that the top second and third are pretty close as well. Larkin now under attack, and Callum just trying to be careful not to take an end plate off as he tries to use his superior pace to get past the cars ahead. Even though he's on the harder compound tyre, I don't think there was any incidents. Perhaps Catherine actually, she's fallen further down 7 seconds off the back. You got the Ferrari. What's happened to him? He's in the grass. He's in the grass.
Oh no. It's been a horrible day for Ferrari after what was a fantastic performance from them in the real life Grand Prix, that is. But Callum and I'm getting the move done on Joe up into P3 now goes the RB. But yeah, it's unfortunate for both Ivan and Reloaded because they both qualified very well on their first runs here in one hub. As we got Moikali and Joe side by side, and is Joe going to move out the way of his teammate Salu in behind? This is going to be an interesting one. Salu's going to try and outbreak his teammate, hang it all the way around the outside, leaves him susceptible to Kieran in behind, who could potentially be eyeing up a move here into the right-hander.
Obviously a short DRS zone into this right-hander. The main one's on the straight. Larkin's keeping just about a second, or just over a second, of J. Cole. Mikey's left the session, so I'm not sure what's happened there. I'll try and send him an invite to get him back in the lobby, but we thought Joe would be the attacker. It turns out he's the one defending for his life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think potentially those soft tyres might be a little bit done already, as Salu sends one down the inside of his teammate Joe, unable to get the move done right there. Beautiful camera angle that we got right there on board with Salu as he tried to send one down the inside of Joe. Joe able to hold off his teammate, and this is where the problems start right now.
Look at the Aston. Sorry, Mike, look at the Aston with DRS. He's all over the back of Callum now, so on the tyre difference, he's going to want to get past the former race leader. When will the top three pit? Still no one has come into the box.
Well, what I was going to say then, obviously, before Moikali was eyeing up a move on Callum and Amde, this was where the issues begin to compile for the likes of Salu, the likes of Kieran. Joe has held them up that much that they've lost DRS with the top four now.
Yeah, Joe falling down the order. Those soft tyres look a little bit shot. They look okay when you ride on board with him, but you can see how much he's struggling, how much he's lifting the dirty air. What's happened here? We've got Lord Barocco having a moment, possibly, as Ivan in the Ferrari is trying to recover, and Mikey is still not back in his car. I have sent him a couple invites. We'll see. Fortunately for him, he was having a good race up until then, but Marco all over the back of Callum still.
Yeah, Moikali about to get DRS. Callum on no DRS here, and this is going to be a huge hindrance for the RB. He goes defensive to the inside, but there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. There goes Moikali up into P3, and Salu able to get himself back within DRS. So Salu showing some good pace on the mediums. Kieran 1.4 at the back of this train. He wants to hope that these guys do a little bit of battling up ahead, get their elbows out so we can get back within the DRS range.
Look at how much time Joe's lost in the pits. He's down in last now and 9 seconds off the back of the field. So is he going to be able to catch that up? Was it a mistake not pitting? I think the top two will obviously have the advantage of the soft compounded tyres in the last stint, but still it just shows you, Mike, how much time that you don't lose by pitting behind the safety car over time that's lost when it's not out there on track.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Joe is going to have to absolutely bolt now until the end of the race, because 8 seconds the gap between himself and Catherine. And he's got to use the advantage of his fresh tyres, and he is doing so. Look, he's gained 3 temps very quickly there. But towards the front, just looking at the battle that's going on right now, obviously J. Cole, 1.5 seconds up the road, he has dropped Larkin. Larkin under big pressure from Moikali and Kalamanamd in behind, as well as Salu also in this train.
Yeah, you can see that train of 4 cars.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where things are going to get interesting, because if Moikali can get himself ahead of Larkin, I think Moikali can get himself onto the back of J. Cole, because he's got the fresher medium tyres. Kalamanand, this is kind of an okay place for Kalamanand right now, because he can get towed along by Moikali, and then later in the race, when his tyres are the superior tyre to be on, he can then come back at the Aston Martin up ahead.
Yeah, I don't think Larkin's pace is terrible. In 4 laps, he's only 1.8 seconds. But what I think he's struggling.
Gaza man off.
Is he back for the back of the field? Yeah, he's in the gravel.
And there
So
goes
look at that. Who's
Larkin
into
into
the
the pits.
pits?
Larkin.
Larkin. He'll slow the car down. Let's see where he comes out. Is he going to run the soft tires to the end from there? Looks like he is.
I mean, 8 laps. It is doable. Of course, the fuel load will be lighter now. This is going to be interesting to see where, obviously, he's going to come back through. Joe has got the gap down to 5.6 between himself and Catherine now. So that's showing the advantage of Joe on the fresher tyres. Now, Larkin on softs, that gap is going to absolutely fly down.
Jess and Curry going side by side through the first 2 corners, banging wheels as they went through turn 2. Curry able to get the job done, but Jess is having a good race. Not the best qualifying, but good race, up in 7th position now within the DRS. But Callum falling off the back of Marco as Larkin gets up into 12th position, not hanging around.
Now, that was clean around the outside there from Larkin on those fresh soft tyres. And he's absolutely going. But look at what that's done. Obviously, Larkin's coming into the pits. It's released Moicully. Moicully's got that gap down to 1.2 seconds already. That is how much pace Moicully has on these fresher medium tyres. And look at that. Fastest lap of the race from the Aston Martin. He is flying out there now.
Yeah, pulling Callum with him. So the dirty air not seeming to affect Callum that much. And you can see that Marco's trying to get within DRS now of car in front. Is this where the hard tyre starts to become tyre that is the one to be on? We'll see. Jess is all over the back of Curry, so not giving up on that 6th position at the moment. They head through the first sector and the first couple DRS zones. Mikey's back in his car and he's currently in 10th position, but he's going to have a rapid Larkin soon upon him. Joe, hasn't really worked out for him, has it?
No, unfortunately not. It was a bold strategy from Joe as well as Larkin, and of course J. Cole yet to make his pit stop yet. It's a bold strategy from the 3 of them to stay out. Obviously, it all hinders on how quickly they can get themselves back for the field. And I think with Larkin and J. Cole being able to go into the soft towards the end, as J. Cole's into the pits, releasing Moicully now into the race lead, and Callum Arnold into 2nd place. With obviously J. Cole and Larkin having the ability to go into a set of the soft compound tyres and Joe having to go to mediums, I just think it's going to work out better for the likes of J. Cole and Larkin in this sense, because they're going to have a huge tyre advantage over the rest of the field.
But do you think they've miscalculated the fact that it's just a 25% race, so that they don't have as much offset or time to gain back? You know, J. Cole's only got 6 laps, and he's currently in 11th place. So yes, he's going to be much quicker, but he's going to be nowhere near fighting for the podium positions, as he potentially could have done if he followed the strategy of the others.
I mean, potentially. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've just looked at the gap, obviously, between J. Cole and Larkin when they came out of the pits. Larkin was unable to make the undercut work on J. Cole. J. Cole making the overcut work. So that's also kind of played into their advantage. And it was the same when Larkin pitted versus Joe. The undercut just did not work at all. So now we're just going to see. It's all about tyre grip and picking your moments to go for the overtake. J. Cole now in P11 has the McLaren pairing of Mason and Mikey up ahead of him. And he's on so much fresher tyres, so much more grip, as well as just having the raw pace that he does. It's just going to be a tough day for all the cars up ahead of J. Cole, because J. Cole's absolutely going to be flying for the field.
Marco still defending from Callum. Jess still trying to get past Curry again. And Jess's pace is impressing me here in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, and as J. Cole absolutely trying everything on Mason, and there's a bit of contact, and J. Cole's around.
Spun it round. Whose fault was that? Were you on board with it, Mike?
I was on board with it. I honestly, I'm going to leave that one up to the stewards. I ain't getting involved.
I flicked onto it right at the end as Lord Rocco retires. Was that in the pit lane? That is in the pit lane. Gaz has also retired, so 3 retirees here tonight. Only 14 runners left. And yeah, as I jumped on board, it looked like J Cole just tapped the rear of JR Mason and spun it round. What happened before that, I don't know. John always puts up a good but fair fight, so what remains to be seen is Callum going to try anything here down the side. No, doesn't have the run. Looks like Marco still has enough rear grip on these DRS traction zones to keep the lead.
I think what Callum is doing right now is he's going to play this incredibly smart. Of course, he's a race winner in one hub for a reason, as is Moikali here. So both of them know how to win a race, and I think the person in the best position right now to win this race is Callum Manon, because he can save the battery and just keep Moikali under pressure with DRS. Hasn't got to go for the overtake yet, and then towards the end of the race on the final lap, he's got the huge amount of battery then to go for the overtake, because look at the battery between the pair of them. Callum with 15% more ERS to play with at the moment compared to Moikali.
Oh, Larkin and JR Mason going side by side through this twisty high-speed section, dicing from side to side is the Mercedes man, and looks like Callum has got the job done on Marco.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum getting himself through, and this is what I was going to say, that both of them know how to win races. Moikali knows what Callum's game was right there, and he knows how to defend from it. J. Cole, fastest lap of the race. Here goes Larkin down the inside of Mason. Job done for the Mercedes, getting himself ahead of the McLaren. But I think the battling that they've done with Mason has absolutely destroyed any chance of them catching up to the likes of maybe Jess or Curry towards the end of this race.
Yeah, Jess, although look how close Jess is to Curry. She's able to keep within a couple tenths of a second of the Aston Martin. Kieran's a bit in no man's land, as is Salu, but has to be said, Salu currently in third position and on for a podium here in this reverse championship round 2 around Netherlands. Obviously next week, Mike, we do have Silverstone to finish off the 3-part championship. But what can just do? Can just get past the Aston Martin before the end of this race. I'd love to see it.
I mean, I think Jess has the capabilities of getting past Curry before the end of the race. It's just a case of if she's going to be able to contend with the dirty air, because you saw it in that final sector. She dropped off a little bit with the dirty air hitting the front of that Red Bull. And what we're going to see now is Jess going to be trying her best to acclimatize to the fact of the dirty air. And she's had plenty of laps to get acclimatized to it. So I personally think we may end up seeing Jess get the overtake done on Curry right here, right now, possibly, as she was closing in rapidly down the DRS straight, but elected to not go for the move. And
from what I've noticed, as you see Larkin sling it down the inside of Mikey, so newcomer Mikey about to be shown some major experience between the two drivers on the soft compounded tyre. J. Cole trying to get this position done as well, but have to settle to follow through this twisty high speed section. What can J. Cole do? Is there enough room for 2 cars? Nope. There isn't.
no, and that's allowed Mason back through, Catherine back through as well. And J. Cole, from what was looking like a fantastic race from him, is beginning to completely unravel. 2 incidents that he's been caught up in, and 2 points of contention as well from his point of view. But the battle is still heating up, the battle for P5 between Jess and Curry, as J. Cole's in the pits, and yeah, I think potentially he may go for the fastest lap. No, he's retired from the race, and yeah, I think J. Cole has had enough.
Oh, just almost touching the back of Curry. I think Curry is running no DRS through the middle section of this this lap. Every lap, from what I've been seeing on board, his red light's always flashing, and then dumps it all down the start-finish straight. So just frustrating Jess. And speaking of frustrations, J. Cole and Mikey coming together there. I did say, was there enough room for both of them, Mike? And yeah, they both ended up in the wall. Half glass full, half glass empty type of thing. I'd put that one down to a racing incident and just not potentially not enough not enough space in each driver, just trying to gain the maximum on a twisty section of the track. What about Marco though? 0.2 of a second behind the lead. Last lap.
Yep, last lap indeed. Marco with more ERS to play with right now, with the DRS as well. He's going to try to go for the overtake, and he's just not close enough on that DRS straight, but the run to the line is going to be crucial for Marco. He needs to be right underneath that rear wing of Callum going through the final corner if he wants any chance of taking the race win here.
It's still been a good showing. Nevertheless, we saw our safety car come out, change the strategy. And what about Jess? Can she do anything? You see the red light flashing on that Aston Martin. I mentioned that's what Curry's been doing through this race, and so far it's proved to be working because he's gained the position, hasn't lost it, and just hasn't been able to get past. But I'll hand it over to you, Mike, as Callum comes around the final corner.
Yep, Callum comes around the final corner to take the race win, the second race win of the Reverse Championship. Moy Kelly comes through to take home P2 after a very tough battle. And then, of course, Salu completing the podium. Fantastic for him. Kieran comes through in P4. And then we got Jess, Curry, and Ivan to the line. And it's going to be Curry that holds off Jess. But Ivan, one lap away, I'd say Ivan was, from getting right involved in that battle. Vitinho up there in P8. Larkin, what could have been without the battling with Mason there in P9. Then, of course, Mason coming through in P10. Catherine in P11. And then, of course, Joe and Mikey yet to cross the finish line. And it will be Joe picking up the final point in P12. And then, of course, Mikey will pick up the last position in P13 as Joe slowing right down, getting himself over the line. What could have been for Joe if he pitted everyone else?
Yeah, Catherine only finishing half a second behind JR Mason. Vitinho, what a great race for him, up into 8th position. So he's really dusting off the cobwebs. He hasn't raced in a few seasons, a few games, I think, actually, Mike. So, yeah, really well done to him. And Mikey showed good pace, but really interesting that that incident unfortunately led to finishing the back of the field. Fastest lap points, remember, still for the driver in top 10 and the driver outside the top 10 who finished. So Mikey will actually get himself points.
Well, maximum points for the race win goes to the Welshman on the top step of the podium for the second week running. It is Callum Arms who takes the race win here in Zandvoort. What a result from him, and what pace he showed right there. He gets the race winner. J. Cole gets the overall fastest lap. Curry gets driver of the day. The most overtakes goes to Joe, according to the in-game menu right there. But let's have a look at the order one more time. It is, of course, going to be Callum with the race win, Moy Kelly in second, Sally in third, Q1 fourth, Curry in fifth, with Jess in sixth, Ivan 7th, Vitinho 8th, Larkin 9th, JR Mason 10th, Catherine 11th, Joe in 12th. Outside the points is Mikey, J. Cole, Lord Brocco, Gazman, and of course, now we're testing my memory now because I only had a quick second to glance at it.
Mikey, and then you had 4 cars who DNF.
Yes.
J. Cole, Gaza, 1HD, and someone else.
Yes, absolutely.
But we've got to pick a driver of the day each nomination, Mike, before we go.
Now, in terms of who I think should get driver of the day, I'm not going to lie. It is hard to look past Callum Arms for driver of the day, just because of the pace he showed throughout the entire thing. But do I go with the obvious choice or do I not? So I'm going to give you the option to go first on this one, mate.
Yeah, for me, it's between 2 drivers. Vitinho, great to see him back in the points in 8th position. Strong result from him. And also Jess, coming from 14th to 6th. I'm going to give it to Jess because I think superb performance from her. And not only did she come through the field, play the strategy right, she had really good pace in that entire stint. So my nomination is going to be Jess.
Honestly, very commendable nomination right there, and I think Jess does deserve the nomination. For me, I'm gonna have to give it to the race winner. Absolutely incredible pace over the course of the entire thing. Obviously, in qualifying, insane pace as well as in the race. It just seemed like he had everything in hand. Even when he got overtaken by Moikali, he seemed cool, calm, and collected. My driver of the day goes to Callum Unarmed. And with that, mate, it brings an end to the second race here in the Reverse Championship. Of course, before we wrap things up, a massive shout out to our partners and sponsors here at One Hub Racing. Of course, Next Level Racing. Of course, to Pure Sim Gear, as well as Vespa Twin, as course, and of course we have our partnership with Sim Grid and the Mental Health Foundation. If you need to talk to someone, make sure you do. It is very important. Never suffer in silence.
And later on tonight, in just over an hour, we will have the GOAT Championship live again at 7 p.m. with Jess and Jamie taking part. So a slightly different format there, which I think you might be commentating on one of them coming up, Mike. But tonight we have Around Japan, Larkin, Callum, J. Cole, Casper, me, Rich, and Lukey. So remember, every time we cross the line, the 7 of us are awarded points. 7th first, so plenty of points up for grabs, and one driver picking the track and the strategy that we all have to run exactly. Thank you very much everyone for tuning in, and remember, the winner of this Reverse Championship will receive a One Hub Racing medal and a pair of One Hub Racing joggers, although I feel like you might want some shorts in this weather.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, make sure you guys tune in to the action in the GOAT Championship in an hour's time with Jess and Jamie taking you through the action there. We will be back with the Reverse Championship next week. And guys, until then, have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.